You probably spent a fortune on gifts on the New Year's Eve, especially when it was Christmas. A week before that. How do I know that? Well, Americans on average spend over $1,000 on gifts, goodies, and travels. That might not look like the fortune, but when you look at the other data that says 60% of the Americans can cover unexpected $1,000 bills. It gets said because emergencies happens and they are full of the surprises. It might be an unexpected doctor visits, your car breaks down, or something else that could prevent from leading your everyday life. There is nothing wrong with buying gifts and having fun, but when our holiday spendings keeps going up year after year, while we stop saving and start getting into the debt more and more, it starts getting scary. So here in this video we are going to take a look at where exactly your money should go once you get paid. What steps should you take once you receive that paycheck so that when you feel faced with the unexpected sudden bills again, you don't have to get into debt because you have been planning your cash flow pretty well. First, allocate your necessities. The first things you should do is to have a list of your necessities. What are the things you literally can't live without? Your house, groceries, transport. Whether you like it or not, you have to pay your bills every month. Otherwise, you will end up on the street. But there's the problem. A lot of people can't differentiate between their needs and wants. Your Starbucks coffee might be important, but it's definitely not the needs, but rather a want. The reason why it is important is that a lot of people complain that their income is not enough. That's why they are living paycheck to paycheck. I'm not gonna argue against that. You're probably underpaid. Maybe not, but that doesn't mean you can't manage your cash a bit more efficiently, and at least. Especially if you want to get out of the desperate financial positions. You definitely need to be much more responsible with your paycheck. Denying yourself some of the pleasures might be difficult, but at least you know that you aren't going to be broke soon. You don't have to spend every penny on your pockets to make it till the end of the month. Second, emergency funds. Once you are done with that, you should start building emergency funds. A lot of people would say that you should have at least $1,000 or maybe even a few $1,000 in the case if things go south. And they have the point. That makes sense, but I don't like complicated things. Your emergency funds should be your saving funds as well. Before you throw at me your angry comments, let me explain why. There is how it's supposed to work. Once you are done with the first steps, you should have the clear idea of how much exactly you need to live decently. Take that amount and multiply by 6. That is your number. That's how much your emergency fund should have at any point. Of course, you can't build that fund in a month or two. It might take you a while, year, or to do that, if not longer. There is an exact percentage of your income so you should allocate to that because it will highly depends on your income. If you're hardly making enough to make it till the end of the month, you might consider the small percentage. If you are making much more than you possibly need, then you probably should build your emergency fund faster. Maybe you should not be having your emergency fund at all because you are hardly making. If you are making much more than you possibly need, then you probably should build your emergency fund faster. Maybe you should not be having an emergency fund at all because you are hardly making ends meet. What's the point of the saving money when you barely pay your rent? In this case, you should forget about these funds and focus on increasing your income first. It might not be easy, but there are plenty of the ways to do that. When you have the multiple accounts to save money, it starts consuming a lot of time, which means you probably won't stick to it. You will do it once or maybe twice, and then you are going to forget about it. That's why I do my best to simplify everything as much as possible. And secondly, there is no point in saving a lot of the money. You're gonna do something with that money to keep it growing, but let's not get ahead of us. We will talk about that in a moment. But before you build your emergency fund, make sure you to pay your debts, especially high interest debts. Third, debt borrowing money isn't cheap, especially borrowing for a short-term period. I'm the big fan of the using credit cards to pay the bills, but only if you know that you can close your balance at the end of the month. That's way you are not just saying your bills, but also building your credit score. However, if you ended up paying interest on your debts, then that's insane. Imagine working so hard to make $1,000 and then spend 20% of it to cover your credit card invest. I have never paid a dime in the credit card interest in my entire life, and I would suggest you to do the same. But if you already have the high interest debts on your shoulders before you even save the dime, make sure to pay them all as soon as you can. Fourth, entertainment now. Let's move to my favorite part, entertainment. This is the part where you initially plan to spend the last amount of the money, but end up struggling most of your income. Come on, be honest about it. How many times did it happen? It happened every single time. No matter how disciplined you think you are going to be, most of your wouldn't be to spend the entire month without spending it on entertainment. It's just part of the life. Hanging out with friends, going to the bar at night, or going for the movie with your homies is just a part of the modern life. Just a little advice, never ever go into the debt for entertainment, no matter how badly you want that. Borrowing money to have fun is the dumbest financial decisions you will ever make. You can somehow justify your student debt, mortgage, rent, or any other necessity, but not entertainment. So for God's sakes, don't disappoint me. Let's try to a little bit specific. What do we mean by the entertainment? I consider entertainment everything else that's not considering as a necessity. The Starbucks coffee, casual eatings out with friends, that new hoodie you bought but don't need. Of course, you can break down your spending habits into the little small parts and micromanage them. From my experience, micromanagement doesn't help unless you are the real nerd. After the few days or maybe even the weeks, you will just dump your plan and start spending randomly. So don't underestimate your entertainment spendings and set the realistic budget. Five, invest the rest. Many of you might disagree with me because I am not making investments the first priority. You might think it should be one of the top of the list, but I'm not going to disagree with you. You have got a point. But from my experience, I would say that the point of the investings when you barely cover your necessities, talking about investing is a lot different than actually putting your money at stake. You invest only when you make enough money after covering your basic bills at least. But enough doesn't mean millions of dollars, not even hundreds of thousands. Once you start making a little bit more than you need to make ends meet, you have some basic savings. You can consider investings. Of course, that might mean working harder or getting the second job or maybe hustling on the side. It's going to be different for everyone, but that's probably the only way. What I would do, I focus on the building the emergency funds first, because when you invest your money, it's not always easy to quickly liquidate it in the case if things go south. Of course, it depends on the nature of your investments, but you don't want to pull out at the wrong time and make a loss when you're intended to grow your money. It's that purpose of investing. Six, invest in yourself, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't invest in yourself. If you spend a single day without learning or growing, that's the day wasted. Because if you are not a better person today than you were yesterday, then what is the point of the living that day? So regardless of how big or small your income is, always invest, even if tiny portion of that amount, into yourself. Get a book on personal finances and learn how to manage your money better. Pick up the courses on the stocks market and learn how to invest the stock market. By the way, if you you use the link in the description, so you can get this amazing course for free on Skillshare. But investing doesn't just mean reading books. Going to cinemas, meeting new people who are smarter than you is another way to invest in yourself. I would even say that traveling is investing in yourself, because it force you to get out your comfort zone and think outside of the box. And lastly, make sure you to invest some of your money into index funds. Index funds investing is in yourself is great. Investing into different stocks is great, but the portion of your investments should be in the low risk ETF that would grow to a substantial amount in the one round through the power of the compounding. You shouldn't touch the amount in any case, because the whole purpose of the investing is an ETF is to reap the rewards of the compound interest. So even if you individual stocks suffer, or your investments in yourself won't be enough for the reasons or another, you can be confident that you have something on the fall on short. Something chaotic happened, God forbid, but if someone would give you the free stocks, then you probably shouldn't care, like Vibu. Yeah, if you use the link in the description, so you get the two free stocks. And now it's your turn. How do you spend most of your money? What is your financial part for 2021? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, get this video the thumbs ups and it deserves, and of course subscribe and turn notifications. Thanks for watching, and until next time.